Hello, this is Awaken to Truth channel. I am Michael Smith. Thank you for taking the time to stop by and watch this video. I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and hit the bell that will alert you to all the new videos that will come out. Right now, for the foreseeable future, I'll be doing about 1 to 2 videos a week. So be looking for that 1 to 2 a week, probably 2 most weeks, at least 1 every week. And as you probably have figured out, a lot of the videos I do are dealing with, things, biblical things, spiritual things, theology, devotion, that kind of stuff. But also, I do venture into some kind of current events, especially around the areas of finance and the economy and things that intersect and affect our lives so dramatically, such as the economy, finance, things of that nature. But there's also other things that I like to pick up at times. And so I thought that this was an interesting time to dive into something that I've never touched on this platform. I've talked about it in my podcast, but that is the fact that many of the leaders who at one time were very devoted to the idea of living our lives continually wearing face masks, that they're now beginning to say, well, it's time to lift some of these mandates. And so what is it really that is kind of being proved by the fact that now they're lifting the mandates? Well, I think if we go back to the beginning of this in just very quick summary, we know that generally speaking, there are some exceptions, but generally speaking, if you were a Republican governor, you were much more likely to give your people the option, what type of things they wanted to do. If you were a Democratic governor, then you were very insistent on certain things. Wearing masks was one of them. Now, even in red states, mask was like highly encouraged in most of them for a long, long time. And I still have driven through some quote unquote red states, and I see billboards that say like mask work and all this stuff. And we were told that it wasn't about politics, that it was science. But yet now that we have a midterm election coming up in 2022 this year, and public opinion is very much tired of the mandates, we are starting to get more opinions from these governors that, well, let's go ahead and relax these. So was it science, or was it simply, the fact that one side wanted to do this, the other side wanted to do that? Well, I think it's becoming clear that there were significant politics involved in it. And it's interesting that even outlets such as the New York Times, they are, letting us kind of begin to make our own decision now, when for a long period of time, they were radically in favor of the mask. They were what I would call completely radical maskers. Like if you didn't wear a mask, you were a danger to society. You were careless. You didn't love your neighbor. But now they are kind of asking us, you see, what are mask rules in your school now? Do you think they need to change? And then they write this article, and at the bottom, it says, students, read the entire article and tell us, do you think they need to change? Do you wear a mask in schools now? How do you feel about it? They're trying to gather information, because what the many politicians care far more about than science is, what do the polls say? And rightly so. You should follow the polls. I don't know why they haven't followed the polls for the last long time, because I think most people have been tired of this long ago. I think the truckers rally, or freedom convoy, as they're calling it in Canada, might be playing a role in all of this, because governors who have had really petty tyrant type of behavior are looking at that and saying, you know what, I don't want it to get that far in my state. So I don't really care what the CDC says anymore. I don't really care what the Biden administration says anymore. I'm dealing with my own backyard, and I'm going to lift the mandates. I'm going to get rid of this, because the CDC is still saying that we need to wear them, because the hospitals are still not where they need to be. The death rates are still not where they need to be. But the question is, when is that ever going to change? When are the hospitals ever going to be at a place that makes these people happy? We were told 2 years ago, slow the spread. 2 years later, I think we've accomplished it. I think we've slowed it down as much as we possibly can. I don't think there's anything left that we can do to slow it. And don't misunderstand me that I'm diminishing that the virus was not dangerous to people. It certainly was. There was, especially of certain demographics, it was far more dangerous than others. However, the science, the data shows that it was not dangerous to children, that the common flu actually is more dangerous to children than this pandemic has been. And so, in light of that, you would think that the schools would no longer be considering wearing masks. But yet many people are still calling for children to continue to wear masks in schools because it's science. Well, I don't really think that it is science, because there have been articles and studies for quite some time. This one here that's on your screen by New York Magazine, which is a very left-leaning type of magazine. But I listened to this author back during the fall. I listened to him after he'd written this article, and he said that, politics aside, he said, my politics are this, they're left, they're liberal, they're with the Democratic Party, but masks either work or they don't. I don't really care what the politics of it are. I want to find the truth of the matter. I respect that. May not agree really with his politics, but I can respect the fact that he wants to find the truth in this, because the truth is, it doesn't have anything to do with politics. Either they work or they don't. And I think most of us begin to see the farce that, the way most people were going around wearing these things, it was not something that was going to be highly effective in transmitting an airborne virus. But he wrote this article, and he did a great deal of research. And what he found is that the studies that were performed on children in schools were not conclusive at best. And at worst, the fact that they did not yield the results that they wanted them to, they just put them in the filing cabinet and dismissed them. Because in here, he cites a 90,000 student study. Let me see. I've read this article, so I don't need to see it, but I'd like you to be able to see it if you can. I'm not going to take too much time, but it's in here. It's a 90,000 student article, or here it is. Yeah. The study published by the CDC was both ambitious and groundbreaking. It covered more than 90,000 elementary school students in 169 Georgia schools from November 16th to December 11th, and was, according to the CDC, the first of its kind to compare COVID-19 incidents in schools with certain mitigation measures in place to other schools without those measures. So it says scientists that I spoke with believe that the decision not to include the null effects of student masking was what amounted to the file drawing these findings, a term researchers use for a practice of burying studies that don't produce statistically significant results. But yet, you've got the head of the CDC still saying all children over 2 need to wear masks. I think that the narrative that many of us have thought and suspected for so long was faulty and really couldn't stand scrutiny if it didn't have big media backing and protection. I think that narrative is starting to crumble, because we're seeing that all the inconsistencies and all the things that just didn't fit together, that you can't fit square and round. You can't fit round and square. It has to fit together. And they were trying to fit things together that had so many inconsistencies that there's no way you could fit it all together. And it's a positive development to me that people are starting to see this. It's not a positive development that I would think that the result of it is we're not going to necessarily trust some of these agencies and some of these places and some of these sources that have told us all that. Maybe it is positive. Maybe we shouldn't trust them anyway. But what's not positive is it's going to be difficult to know moving forward, when can we listen to them and when can we not? Well, the best thing we can do is stay informed ourselves. The best thing we can do, really one of the best things everybody can do, is you can use your inner intuition, that inner feel of what's going on. And if you think something's best for you, that's the route you need to go. If you think it's not best for you, then follow your conscience. And I think that that is the place that we are hopefully coming back to as a society. And hopefully more and more people are waking up to that we can make our own decisions. We can, in many cases, be our own guide. That doesn't mean that we don't want to get outside information. The Bible says that there is safety in a multitude of counselors. And I think that's some of the problem is we haven't had a multitude of counselors in this. We've had a very specific set of counselors, and the counselors that had different voices or different opinions than those counselors, they were pushed out, they were buried, they weren't listened to, they were ostracized. You've got that taking place today with a very big media personality, Joe Rogan, because he has dared to go against what some of the common voices have been telling us. But nevertheless, I think people are waking up to it. I think it's a positive thing. I think it's a good thing. And I hope that you will continue to think for yourself, make the best decisions you can with the information that you have. And ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to trust, for me, I have to trust in the Lord beyond that, because there's some things that are out of my control, some things that are out of your control. And all we can do is the best that we can do and let the chips fall where they fall. I hope, I pray we're beginning to come back to that place of common sense and reason in our society. It seems we are, but I suspect there's still a pretty significant battle ahead. So thank you for taking the time to watch today. Appreciate it. I'll be back with another video very soon.